Reality, nature of From Silence Speaks, page number 494. Dear brother, you have written correctly that you are unable to understand the reality of a matter. If life is breathed into a doll of sugar, it cannot understand its reality. The meaning is that having continuously lived in matter, we have lost our own matter, that is reality. This alone is the hindrance. Nature really does not want to keep anything in mystery from the devotee, because mystery can be called as complicated. And wherever there is complexity, it can be called nothing but Maya. Nature is an open book, but we have inverted our vision to such an extent that we never look to it. And dear brother, to put it crudely, it can be said that our skill has become topsy-turvy. Reality is manifested when we stand opposite to it. That is, if we think of matter, we creep towards spirit also. Then we can have some idea of the reality by weighing both. Now, I must rather expose the scientist, of course, without including you in the class. People have told me, or the thought has come to me, that the scientists have worked to such an extent as to make a slave of the power of matter of man. Now, what can be further than this from the aim of yoga, which is to have command over nature? But, dear brother, even the ordinary circus people have shown wonderful feats by controlling the wild beast like a tiger. The things of science can be overcome by other neutralizing things, but it is not at all possible to overcome this ferocious quality by any acid. Hence, the circus artist is far superior to the scientist. Dear brother, it is due to the development of the human brain that control can be had over the power of matter, but the work or the development of the spiritual brain is something else, where the energy of matter does not work. This has got divine wisdom, whereas that has human wisdom. We'll take a pause here. Any questions, anything people want to add to this? He's taken a strong stance against the scientist in terms of making us a slave of the matter. We'll go ahead then. Your thought is correct that man is by nature a philosopher, and there are proofs for it. Soon after a child is born and he begins to see a little, a sort of wonder comes to him which is the essence of all material and spiritual science. Some people indulge in enjoying the fruits while others start counting trees. But the basis of all these is wonder. The scientists get involved in the complexity of matter, and the seeker, leaving this, comes to that image of which all these are images. The seeker, leaving this, comes to that image of which all these are images. When we know the effect of arsenic, we conclude that everything in which it is mingled becomes poison, or else we consider everything mixed with it as a poisonous thing. Now, this poison alone helps the things to become poisonous because it is this very property of arsenic which is impregnated in every fiber of the thing with which it is mingled. Energy is working in matter in the same way. This example will solve your question as to how the spirit is considered as the state of with all and without all. During the spiritual progress, the Abhyasi also gets such a condition where even matter does not remain after the Mahapralaya. Because if anything remains, the Mahapralaya will become a misnomer. I do not consider matter to be eternal. The self alone is eternal, and if it is the cause of all, then a time comes when nothing remains except that. Hence, it is proved that matter was formed at the time of creation of the universe. What was this matter? They were the churning actions which could form the solid thing. What a nice philosophy is contained in the saying that everything appears as round. The reason is that when that great architect willed to create the universe and used the energy, the actions started in a round way in order to establish a circuit so that the energy could work. Even as when you transmit, your energy also works in a circuit so that the abhyasi may be affected. When we sit for meditation, making a circle of the satsangis, because this too may help us. Now, when this very energy got concentrated, it came to be called as solid or matter due to the force of the action. Now, you have to remove this very solidity from the abhyasi so that he may become spirit from top to toe. Maulana Rumi, who was a king as well as a saint and who was the disciple of Shams et Tabriz, has said, he was free himself and was arrested by himself only. We'll take a pause to contemplate. Uh, We'll go ahead. This is really the description of the oneness of existence, which I do not believe. I am a believer in oneness of the manifestation. Nevertheless, this throws sufficient light on the fact that energy took a different turn. You have written that there should be some method to acquire complete control over this materiality or spirituality. When a factory is working, the energy comes from the engine and rotates its every part. Now, if you want to control it and try to hold one wheel, the result will be that your hand will be crushed to pieces. You can never control it in that way. If you want to stop that machine, then get control over the source from where the energy is being supplied. Then the machine will stop. Now, it is evident that in order to have control over the materiality, you should have control over spirituality, consciousness, and all of us do the same thing. We'll take a pause here. I was giving the solution. Earlier, I was talking about how the things have evolved. You already know the methods of acquiring control over the spirituality, for which the practice and satsang are absolutely essential. Nevertheless, I mention something. In order to have control over spirituality, you have to enter that which is the cause of spirituality, consciousness. Now, how to gain it? When we turn towards it in such a manner as to get charged by its purity and freshness, our environment will get changed and naturalness will be created. And whatever you wish will begin to happen. Dear brother, go on floating. The source will definitely be reached, or if the inclination becomes so intense that the river itself pours itself into you, then there will no longer be the necessity for any abhyas. Anything anyone wants to add? Whom does God love more? I feel like writing a puzzle. Whom does God love more? Him who has seen him once and yet remains apart from him. I wish to write a line or two on this. When did we part from God? When we took up the present form, the human body, leaving the source. When we started from such a big source and have come down to the astral plane, which is far below it. We took our abode in the cage of the elements. We should also maintain its remembrance so that we may remain within the sphere of devotion and understand our present condition, which is elemental. The place in which we now are is miles away from God with regard to divine qualities. It means that the idea of God and man should be maintained even after realization. In short, do not throw away the human etiquette after realization. Man's thought force. All the powers residing in the Absolute are present in man because his thought force comprised of the particles that were present at the time of main stir. But since they possess an inward tendency, their working took a different course, and the faculties possessed by him began to be utilized in a reverse way. Therefore, a steadfast seeker can never be led away by the flow of irrelevant thought. He remains firm on the path, holding fast to his sadhana, is prompted by an intense longing, and always remains in search of better means to speed up his progress. While intensifying his craving, Lagan, he must at the same time be submissive to his guide as a schoolboy is to the teacher. Greatness lies in humility and meekness. So every Abhyasi should develop meekness. One rises to prominence only when he thinks himself to be humble and low. Humility brings forth what arrogance cannot. As I could discover after a life's experience, the greatest obstruction on the path of spirituality is offered by our feelings of partiality and prejudice, which may be roughly assumed as a type of ahankara. One must therefore never part with this noble virtue of meekness and humility. God belongs to no caste, creed, or society. Hence, there must be no difference between man and man. Pride and arrogance have, therefore, to be eschewed, and if one does not heed this virtue, he is swerving away from the path of duty or dharma and even of spirituality. Any questions? Mind. Fickle mindedness has become part and parcel of our life because we have directed the individual mind towards that course. The case was not so when we came first into the world. The surroundings, environment, and our habits caused their own effect with the result that we got completely spoiled. But as a matter of fact, we alone are responsible for all this. Therefore, it now rests upon us to bring it round again do the proper course. It is for this alone that we practice meditation to relieve the mind of its wandering tendency. Diversion of mind. I may reveal to you that I have diverted your individual mind upwards, that is, towards God. As is the process usual under this system, you may possibly feel some of its reflection accidentally or when you look to it during meditation or at other times. God alone knows what I have been planning for you. When you come to me next, may God grant that I find you sufficiently advanced to enable me to make your relationship with me deeper and stronger. I'm also preparing you for securing a closer connection with the main reservoir of grace.
When he says the next means whether it is in the next birth or what is it? He has been saying about it.
When you come to me next, here, is this one that are you referring?
Right. Yes, about that only.
Okay. What I feel it's just coming to him to visit him next.
Okay.
Because silence speaks is the letters from the master to various abhyasis.
Means it is next visit.
Okay, right.
We can take it as next visit.
Next visit, right? Yeah. Anything else? Any other questions, comments? Regulation of mind. Your question as to whether the Mahatmas have their mind shattered or destroyed is a peculiar one. I believe only a made-up thing can be shattered. A made-up thing is that which is covered over with grosser layers. If a building is demolished, the floor remains unaffected thereby. Now judge for yourself whether a mind is really destroyed or only transformed. I shall call it as regulation of mind, which means only the removing of the structure built upon it. But if one likes to dispense with it altogether, he must then necessarily get himself relieved of the root force, which is the basis of existence, Shobh. No activity can be possible without mind. Nothing in nature loses its existence. Only the form and function are changed from time to time. Every man possesses intelligence. One can use it for a right cause, while another uses it for a wicked one. At higher stages of advancement, the Indriyas, having been regulated and balanced, assume a purified state and their actions become dormant. One then does not remain the doer of things, and consequently, the formation of sanskaras stops. This can be easily attained if one follows the right type of abhyas under proper guidance. So I think we can take a pause here before going into the dynamos of creation. lot of deep philosophy as well as reality has been covered. Anything anyone wants to add? Ask. Okay then. Yeah. Let's meet next Sunday. Thank you. Namaste.